I mentioned that I believe that Geert Wilders is the 21st century equivalent of the Appeasers of the 1930s in Europe, the people who were attempting to use Adolf Hitler for their own ends, mostly from Britain and France, but there were some American and Canadian appeasers as well. I'm sure there were appeasers from other countries. They wanted to use Adolf Hitler to crush the European left and to attack and hopefully destroy the Soviet Union. Now, if Mr. Wilders is an appeaser, whom in the modern world is he appeasing? Well, there's some obvious examples to this. The Israeli far right, for one thing, the people who seem to believe that they honestly have ownership rights to what the rest of the world, or most of the rest of the world, believes belongs to the Palestinians. And even if a large segment of the Israeli population disagrees with them, his support for the Israeli far right gives them a legitimacy in terms of all the people who agree with Mr. Wilders' message. If you ask me, he's also appeasing the hard right in the United States. That much is obvious when he came around to do his lecture circuit last year. If you ask me, he's also appeasing the racist right wing in a lot of countries, particularly in Europe, but also, again, in most of the West. Maybe he doesn't want to openly associate himself with these people, but Chamberlain and the appeasers of the 1930s probably didn't want to sully their hands with blatant anti-Semitism and all of the other trappings of Nazism, like the flags and the goose stepping and everything, that they ultimately found rather undignified. But Hitler was, after all, a stalwart anti-communist, and he was there to guarantee the middle and upper classes of Europe. So we won't get our hands dirty with his dirty work, but we'll go along with him tacitly. That's my opinion of the relationship between Geert Wilders and the hard right, the racist right in most of the West. So he is actually facilitating some pretty unsavory people. He's also facilitating some of the more repressive Islamic governments, ironically, the ones that want to crack down brutally on any sort of reform movement by labeling them all a bunch of Islamic fundamentalists. I wouldn't be surprised if the hard right, the Hindu nationalists in India, have something good to say about Mr. Wilders. He is, after all, got a convenient message that so many people can latch onto. Anyone who is unnerved by the actions of 1.5 billion people, or the alleged actions of them, and wants to become harsh with those people as a response, and the two aren't necessarily part of the same group, will find something in Mr. Wilders' message to like. I thought that we learned not to do this sort of thing, and not to rely on people like Mr. Wilders. Thank you.